this week, our scripture, what are we talking about? Matthew 13:44. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again, and then in his joy went out and sold all he had and bought that field. So guys, go back to that spiritual kickoff, listen to that, because it was a powerful verse. And I got that verse from our guest today. And we're going to be talking about all in, right? For those in search of something more. And I have with me, I have Mr. Adam Palmer, and he is a medically retired staff sergeant who served 3 combat tours in Iraq and received a Purple Heart for wounds received in combat. He's been married to his wonderful wife of 14 years and a proud father to 3 kids. So we have that in common. We both have 3 kids. We know that stress that it goes with that. He's originally from North Carolina, so gotta love that. I'm in North Carolina right now, and he and his family now reside in Illinois. He has a bachelor's degree in youth ministry from Grand Canyon University and is passionate about mentoring and guiding young people. I love that. I love that. He recently authored a book, which you're going to be talking about here. And the cool part about that book is he actually traveled 48 states in 48 days to doing outreach and sharing God's love with the homeless community. I tell you what, we're going to talk about that a lot too. So he currently serves as a community outreach leader, a director with the State Line Youth for Christ, where he leads a program seeking to build relationships between inner city youth and the police. And he also leads a pre-military training ministry where he and his team of mentors, they actually mentor young people as they prepare for military service, getting them ready physically, mentally, and spiritually. And that's just awesome. So his ultimate goal is making a positive impact in the life of as many people as possible. So guys, I'm so excited to have Adam Palmer. How you doing today, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm happy to be here.
I am so excited to have you, a fellow North Carolina guy too, man. So we have a lot in common.
Yeah, if they get double the accent today, don't they?
That's right, double the accent. That's right. But that's okay. That's what they signed up for, right? Well, I tell you, man, I love your book. First of all, guys, it's in the show notes. It's synced up there. Got to get this one. We're going to be talking about All In. Love the title. So maybe you kind of broke this book down to, your pre-Jesus story and then your team Jesus story. So let's start off with the early stuff, man. So pre-Jesus stuff, just give our listeners a little bit about to your insight about your childhood.
Well, I guess I identify myself as like a crazy Jesus loving veteran. It's kind of a miracle that I ever authored a book. I had somebody at my local church. He said, you're doing pretty good for somebody that barely tripped out the front door of your high school. And I said, thanks, I guess.
I guess.
My parents got divorced when I was very young. I think I was probably around 3, and I don't have many memories of them together, but I got lots of memories of everything that happened afterwards, and custody battle, and just growing up in that atmosphere, where it's just kind of hostile. And I know a lot of kids grow up in that environment these days. And I was in and around church. Like I can remember, I guess I got baptized when I was 6 years old, because basically it was, who wants to go to heaven instead of hell? And I was like, that seems like a pretty obvious choice. So I raised my hand for that one. But, at the same time, I had no idea what sin was really. I had, I really didn't know the Lord. So as time went on, middle school, I was kind of a misfit. I was a fat kid. And I was from a small town, so there was only like 2 of us in the whole class. So it was It was rough. But I got picked on a good bit. I got bullied, and I just had a lot of self-esteem problems. I had a lot of confidence issues, and I was just kind of lost in a lot of different ways. I mean, spiritually, as far as like where I fit into society, acceptance from my peers, I just, in my own identity, I just I was just lost in a lot of different ways, and it didn't really get much better as I went into high school. As there was one main thing in high school is when I kind of intervened into a bully situation my freshman year, and I ended up getting beat up in front of the whole school. And that I already had so many self-esteem issues. I already was battling all of that. I didn't have a lot of friends, and I didn't see my worth, and I didn't really have a close relationship with Jesus yet. So that was difficult, and and that was probably the first time I really contemplated taking my own life. And and that ended up being a transition point for me, to where my life went in a different direction, but it went in the wrong direction, to where and I was basically like, well, this ain't ever gonna happen again. And then I kind of became what I envisioned as that tough guy persona. I wanted
Right.
people to think I was tough. I wanted nobody to ever beat me up like that again or embarrass me like that again. And that just kind of led me down a road of violence and drugs and partying and alcohol and just basically chasing pleasure and
Right.
and and establishing my worth in the wrong places, and that that didn't get any better as I joined the military. In fact, it probably got a lot worse, and I reached a point where I was very lost. And I tell people like I knew Jesus, like I know Michael Jordan. You know, I could tell you some stats. I could tell you how many NBA championships he won. I can tell you that he went to the greatest basketball school on planet Earth, the University of North Carolina. Uh, I could tell you a lot of things about Michael Jordan, but I don't know Michael Jordan.
Right.
He's never come to dinner at my house. We've never broke bread together. I don't know him. I know of him, and that's kind of
Right.
where I was with Jesus. Is I knew of Jesus, I knew about Jesus. I mean, I'm from the South. If you could grow up in the
Right.
South without hearing about Jesus, man, you must be living up under somebody's porch. And
Right.
so that was kind of where I was, and it made it possible for me to damage a lot of people and to be damaged by a lot of things, I guess.
Well, I mean, to that point, though, right? I mean, you're raised in the South. I mean, Jesus, again, you have an opportunity to hear it pretty much everywhere at some point, right? But so many guys, when they get to that age, and for you, it was in high school. You had that interaction with that guy. You had embarrassed, and you made that switch. You know what? Nope, that's not happening again. So it sounds like you got stronger, but you also leaned into the wrong stuff with drugs and alcohol and sex and all those things. So why do you think so many guys choose that path? Because we obviously, these guys, we know Jesus is there, but is it the pull of that path that much stronger? Is that what's pulling these guys, you think?
And like you mentioned, I do inner city youth ministry. I'm working with a lot of young men in the hood
Yeah.
because I'm in Rockford, Illinois, and it's pretty rough out there. I'm not gonna lie to you. Lots of gun violence, um, and it's the thing is the perception of what strength is, what toughness is, has been poisoned. And so, you know, what they envision as a strong man is, having money or having a gun or, having, lots attention from women and things like that. It's the value system for a young man is just so tough. I see these guys all the time, and they're getting in fights, and it's always about disrespect. That somebody will disrespect, somebody will say something to them on social media, And then next thing you know, they're meeting up in a parking lot to have a fight, or they're jumping somebody, or from time to time somebody's getting shot over it. And the thing is they never want to be perceived as weak, and to let anything slide, to let anybody say anything about you or anything like that, and for you to not take action against that is perceived as weak, especially
Right.
in the culture that they're growing up in right now. And so it clashes with Christ in a lot of different ways. It's if I'm gonna be a real man, then I need to turn your cheek, not turn mine. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
that's and I think that that's a barrier that's difficult, because I think young men, they're looking around and they're saying, what does a real man look like?
Right.
And especially for these kids in the hood, it's a rapper on YouTube, or it's whatever they've seen growing up in their environment.
Right. Exactly.
So that's like a godly man. Typically, they haven't seen much of it, but when they have, it's and I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody, but it's not what they envisioned as a strong man.
I think you're all over it there, Adam. I mean, that's what we're trying to talk about here, the line within us. I mean, when you think godly man, sometimes, definitely strength doesn't always come to mind. It's a little bit more of the softer type guys, you know what I'm saying? And that's not the type of guys that really they're going to resonate with, right?
Right, right. That's I mean, and I think it's important for them to see, a different type of guy that models Christ. Because I mean, Christ wasn't weak. Christ
That's
wasn't
right.
soft. Christ,
That's right.
he was not that. That's there's one story in Luke's gospel that always sticks out to me, and it's when he had read the scroll of Isaiah in the synagogue, and he was like, "Today in your midst, this prophecy has been fulfilled."
Right.
And they were cool with it at first, and the next thing you know, the whole village has his back against a cliff, and they're about to toss him off the cliff. And it says that he walked through their midst untouched.
Right. Right.
Uh, that's for you to have an angry mob about to murder you, and for
Right.
you to just decide, you know what, I'm walking through here and ain't nobody gonna put a hand on me. That
Right.
that doesn't look soft. Doesn't look
That's
weak.
tough, man. That's tough. I mean, and that's who we serve. I mean, I always go straight to, where he cleaned out the temple. He didn't show up with the whip. He went out and made the whip, and then came back then and cleaned house. And it didn't say, and the disciples helped him. No, this was a solo job. I mean, cleaned the temple out by himself with a whip he made out of his hand. I mean, that's just the God we serve. Everybody talks about the Lamb of God, which is great. We got to have that, but we got to remember the Lion of Judah too. I mean, he's fully lion and fully lamb, and I mean, and that's what I feel like. Some of these young guys, they're not getting that part. They're just hearing, in church. Let's face it, a lot of times church doesn't do any favors to let these guys think manlyhood, or masculinity. You think about when you go to church service, a lot of times we're singing songs where it sounds like we're singing Jesus is our boyfriend, right? I mean, that's not going to be like resonating with dudes to want to keep going, So there's so much. That's a whole nother rabbit trail, but I don't know what your thoughts are there.
Well, I tell you, and I've discussed this with some of my ministry colleagues too. I think that in ministry and in the church and even in youth ministry and anybody that's done it, you feel a pressure to keep people coming to your ministry site, because without them there, you can't. And so there's almost like this unwritten rule, this kind of undercover pressure, to where you almost have to be sweet all the time,
Mm-hmm.
so you don't ruffle any feathers, so you don't upset anybody. That way they'll keep on coming back, because if they don't come back, then you don't have the opportunity to minister to them. And plus, if you don't have the numbers, then your job performance is going to be judged based on those numbers, whether you like it or not, or whether
Right.
it's right or not. But and so I think that there's pressure there. But I'm gonna be honest with you, Chris, and I've succumbed to that pressure. But man, about a month ago, I was driving down to pick up one of my students, and I hope you give me a minute to share this. But
Oh, absolutely.
and we're headed down. I'm headed down the road, and traffic is stopped. And I see that traffic stopped coming the other way too. And I'm like, what's going on here? We got a bunch of turkeys in the road or something. What's up? And I see some smoke. But there was no emergency vehicles or anything like that. So I put down my window and I hear screaming. And so, immediately, I guess the soldier in me or whatever God's put in me just kicks in. And I've had a good bit of training, and rather fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know how you look at it, but I've been in a lot of messed up situations, and I just take off running. And there's a guy. So the car is on fire, and I get up there, and there's like a couple like older people, like 70s age, and they've managed to get this guy out of the car, but he's probably at least 350, maybe 400 pounds. So all they was able to do was get his seatbelt off and roll him out the car. But the car is fully engulfed in flames at this time, and it's getting worse. And so I get up there, the dude's unconscious, and he ain't looking good. And me and another guy, we each grab a leg and we drag him away from the vehicle, and we get him far enough away to where I felt like, hey, if this thing starts, blowing off fragments and whatnot, we'll be okay. And it was
Right.
far enough away to where the heat wasn't really on us, so I could start doing some CPR on him and starting compressions because he didn't have a pulse, or at least I couldn't indicate it. But like I said, he's a big person, so it's kind of hard to feel a pulse on somebody,
Right.
a bunch of neck fat, and stuff like that. But
Right.
so I started doing compressions on him, and I'm praying over him and stuff like that. And by the time the paramedics got there, they took over. And as I was about to leave, I talked to him. I said, "Hey, how's he doing? Is he gone?" Because I assumed he was already gone, but they said that he was still hanging on when I left the scene. And I went on, did my ministry thing, even with blood on my pants, because I was like, well, I drove this far, so I might as well go and do what I was going to do.
Right.
But I get home later and I'm trying to find out what happened, and it turned out that the guy passed away, and he was 21 years old. I don't know anything about the guy. There was hardly anything. Like, I'm not really on I'm on LinkedIn. That's about it. I'm not on Facebook or any of that stuff. It's too distracting for me. But, tried to find stuff on this guy and nothing. And it was almost like, his life didn't matter, man. Just to be honest, and he was 21 years old. And, I was like, did this guy know the Lord? Where was he going with his life? What was his story?
Yeah.
And I knew, which I had already had an increased boldness in me before that, but because I had to make sense out of that, because when you pray over somebody that they'll live and they don't, then obviously God had a different plan. So what do you make out of that?
Yeah.
And for me, I was just like, well, he had me in that place at that time for that reason, and it's just to encourage, like, to continue to press on me a sense of urgency, especially with these young men, to get right with God, because at any given moment, man, your time card could get punched.
That's right.
That guy was just driving down the road that day and then passed out or whatever and hit a tree, and that was it for him. That was it. 21 years old, driving home, fell asleep, hit a tree, gone.
Right. You never know, Adam, and that's the thing. You got to be ready at all times. And as kudos to you for stepping in and for trying to help him. But I mean, this to your point, you got to be every day on fire for Jesus and trying to lead people to Him and trying to serve them in the best way that you possibly can. I mean, that's what the gospel's about. I mean, and go out and make disciples, right? So, Adam, I want to take a quick break and I want to jump in because I want you to talk to us about that moment that led you to Jesus, because that was really powerful in your story that I know you'd love to share that. So we'll be right back. Satan will do everything possible to destroy you. Are you prepared? Start training today with the Leadership for Christian Men Bible Study. The focus of this Bible study will be to help you and your lion's den grow in the areas of health, mind and body, wealth, career and finances, and self, husbands and dads. We know it can be intimidating being a Christian leader. This study will help you identify areas to work on and grow the relationships around you that will make an impact for the kingdom. If you still feel uncertain, remember, God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. See our site, thelionwithin.us, for details. All right, guys, we're back here and we're talking with Adam Palmer. And again, all in for those in search for something more. Check out the show notes, sync up, go get this book. Go ahead and do it before this episode's over. Make that happen. But Adam, I want you to talk to these guys about that moment that you found Jesus, because it was a pretty powerful moment. I remember, reading this story, and I think it could be something that resonates with a lot of our guys out there. So you mind sharing that?
Absolutely. And when I wrote the book, I said, this is the part of the story that when I envision someone reading the book, that's the part that I envision them reading, because that's when I really feel like I came into a true relationship with Jesus. And, for some background stuff, like I had turned into a pretty grimy person, and there were multiple instances. My first 2 tours in Iraq where I took other human beings' lives in combat, and and even outside of that, man, I was that guy that was always looking for a fight. If you looked at me wrong or whatever, like I'd always find a reason to get in a fight. It's funny how before Jesus I couldn't go out to a bar without getting in a fight, but since Jesus I ain't been in one. It's funny how that works out. But
right.
But I had hurt a lot of people, and I had done a lot of things that I knew were wrong, even when I did them. And I guess I had been running from God for a long time. And when my daughter was born, right before that deployment, I had an experience with God that kind of really, kind of shook me up, and it felt like, man, I think God might be real. I think He might really actually care about me, and I think He might actually have heard my prayer. And so I kind of went into that third deployment for the first time in my life with something to lose, because my first 2 deployments I was single. Now I'm married. I got a kid. My daughter was born a month before I left for that tour, and so I was in a different headspace that time for sure. But yeah, we were riding along one day, and I was joking around with my driver, and just all of a sudden, boom. And at first I didn't know exactly what had happened. I didn't know I was injured at first, because I mean, like, I'd done 2 tours already and I'd been hit by a good many IEDs. So like I thought that the truck had just took it, as it had done in other IED explosions I'd been involved with before. And but then I realized that I was hurt, and I noticed that I was bleeding really bad from my leg. I tried to put pressure on it, and my arm was just kind of hanging off. I just saw off my scar. I got to show off the scar. But yeah, this is my scar.
Oh man, good gracious.
Yeah, so it's I call that my forearm, because it's half thigh and half forearm, so it's my forearm.
Right.
But
I hear you.
But so like that, my hand was just hanging off, and I was just Yeah, I was in bad shape, and they got me into the other vehicle, and I went into shock, and I couldn't move anymore. I couldn't speak anymore. I was just kind of seized up, and I could remember seeing a guy that was in a similar circumstance. A enemy combatant that we treated, and right before he passed away, I saw like this fear in his eyes, and and I felt that fear, and
Right.
and it was a feeling that I was about to stand before God, and I was guilty, and I knew that I was going to be condemned if I stood before God that day in judgment. I knew I wasn't right with God, and I prayed. I said, Lord, I believe you are who you say you are. I believe that you have the power to forgive my sins. And I've lived a horrible life. I've hurt a lot of people. I've done a lot of people wrong. And I said, I ask that you'll please forgive me and save me. And I said, whether I live or die today, from here on out, man, I'm yours. And I just asked, I said, hey, please take care of my girls. I'm ready to go. And then crazy stuff happened. They'd been trying to get an IV started, but like the medic couldn't hit a vein because I'd lost a lot of blood. And my gunner jumps up, grabs the needle out of the doc's hand because I mean all of this praying was inside. Like I said, I couldn't talk. It was just me inside my spirit, I guess. And they get an IV started, and I come out of shock, and I had this sense of peace that I can't explain, and I was just at peace the rest of the ride to the next fob. And then when they opened the doors, everything kind of went back to the way it was. But in that period, it was like God was just holding me in the palm of His hand, and yeah, that was my turning point right there. That's the day I was born again.
Right. Right. That's an amazing story, Adam. And so, I mean, a lot of healing and recovering. I'm sure that had to come after that. I mean, what was the hardest part there as you tried to just physically heal, but also, with your spirit, you're walking with the Lord now. So how are things shifting there?
Well, it's one of those things where like you know, it's almost, you give your life to Christ and you would almost expect that just everything would be healed and that you would be perfectly fine the next day and
It
that
should be
everything,
right.
just, sunshine and unicorns and rainbows and chocolate chip cookies for everybody, right?
Right.
And, no, it didn't work like that. It sucked. Like it was miserable. Like I was getting a surgery every other day. I didn't know if I was going to be able to keep my arm. I didn't know if I was going to be able to walk again. Because I broke both my legs in that. I had shrapnel in both legs. I had shrapnel in my back. I had all this stuff. So, I mean, I'm at Walter Reed Medical Center on the amputee ward for a long time. And, it was like I kind of started to doubt what had happened to a certain extent. It was like, well, did God really hear me? Did
Right.
I
Right.
really get saved? Am I, because this sucks, because this is not going well. I mean, and I actually, that's when I started to really struggle with suicidal thoughts again. But God put the exact right person at the exact right time at the exact right place to turn me around. Uh, there was this guy. His name's Brennan Morocco. You can look him up. Like he just got a double arm transplants not long ago, which is cool. But I've never really talked to the guy other than this.
Right.
And
Right.
I'm getting wheeled down. It was my first day in a wheelchair because I was stuck in the bed for 3 weeks, and I was able to get into the wheelchair. And my grandmother's taking me down to get a haircut because this doesn't look good when it gets all grown out, like it's messy.
Right.
And I always tell people I look like a defective chia pet. But I'm going down to get a haircut, and I'm looking at the tiles in the floor, and I'm trying to figure out a way I could kill myself. And I'm that much more discouraged because I can't even figure out a way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, oh, you're a big tough soldier guy. You know what I mean? You're just supposed to
Right.
be this bad dude.
Right.
You can't even kill yourself. Like, what are you? And I heard this voice that said, keep your head up. And I picked up my head and I looked at this guy, and he had lost all four limbs and an eye. And he said, keep your head up, man, it gets better. And I was like, wow. And I said, you know
Man.
what? If this dude, after everything he's been through, after losing everything he's lost,
Right.
man, I still got my limbs. I didn't know if I was going to get to keep my arm yet, but I was like, I still got so much compared to this guy.
Right.
And I said, you know what? I'm not going to put my head down anymore. I'm gonna try to motivate others. I'm gonna try to motivate myself. And that's when, like, I remembered that I had made that commitment to Christ and that He had saved me. And then right about that time, I got it with me. I'm happy. Right about that time, a chaplain came and handed me this old beat up Bible. Uh,
Okay.
and it's got my name and my rank and everything, like in
Right.
gold letters on it and stuff. And I realized I didn't know Jesus, like, personally. I just heard stuff, and
Right.
I just started digging into the Gospels and digging in and digging in and digging in, and man, I just fell in love with Jesus, and and it just transformed my life. Like, I could just feel myself becoming a different person. All
Right.
of the hate, all of the bitterness, all of the shame, all of the guilt, just started to slowly wash away little by little, and I started changing.
Right.
And like I actually became a new creation.
But yeah, I think you also, to do your point, that didn't happen overnight. It was slowly, right? And that's where I think so many guys get tripped up on their faith is they make this. I'm so glad you said it too, because I say it all the time. Like, when the guys, they decide to follow Jesus, and then when the first thing doesn't go their way, they're turning their back on it, and that's the faith that the just doesn't have the root, as the parable talks about, right? It gets plucked up by the birds, or it gets scorched by the sun because the faith didn't penetrate. But finally, for you, I think that chaplain, he was there at the right place, and also that gentleman who lost all his limbs, he was there at the right place, and that was what you needed. You needed that little bit to push you, because we got to be pushed as guys. We have to be pushed a little bit, right? I mean, we need a little friction in our lives. But then you leaned into it, and that's the beauty of it. And but it's a daily pick up your cross and follow me. I mean, it's daily. You don't. That's what it's all about. And I think guys sometimes when it gets tough, man, they give up. And I'm hoping conversations like this will encourage them to keep going.
Well, I mean, you didn't get lost overnight.
Right. That's right.
If you spent 20 years walking deep into the woods, what makes you think it's going to take 5 hours to get out? I mean, that's like, that's it does, I mean,
That's pretty deep, bro. That's deep for a North Carolina guy now. I hear you.
well, I've been lost in the woods a good many times, so. But that's I think that's one of the things. But that's why it can't be based on your own works either.
Right.
And see, that's one thing that I think, we got to really understand, that what differentiates Christianity from everything else is grace, man. Like he has given us forgiveness. He has died for us. We didn't earn it. We can't earn it, And don't think like, oh wow, I messed up, now God don't want nothing to do with me no more. I can't do this and that. He's already done it. So, he's already paid the price for your sins. He's already done that. That's squared away. Now you just live for him out of gratitude, you know, and you live for him out of gratitude because, like, you know, Like that's one thing is like the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Sanhedrin and all of the religious leaders that Jesus is just blasted all throughout the Gospels. Like he is blasting them jokers. You know, they proved that by doing it yourself, all it does is make you into a self righteous person
Right.
that looks down on everybody else. But see, the cross puts us all on the same playing field. So yeah, I mess up, and I talk to God about it, and then I try to do better. I repent of it, and I'll say, "Hey, God, man, I'm my bad. I had to do it today. Like I've had to do it. I got impatient and mad at this thing we were doing for Good Friday at our church because I thought it was going to make me late for this right here." And I'm up in there mad and just kind of like, dang, why did it take us so long? Well, we got to wait here to do this, and then I had to talk to God about it. I had to ask Him for forgiveness because I'm not representing Him well.
Right.
And I had to tell my wife and kids, hey guys, man, I'm sorry. I had a bad attitude in there and I was impatient and I'm not being Christ-like when I do that. So I'm sorry.
Right.
I apologize for that. But it's like if Jesus loved you when you were, smelling butt cracks in the strip club, what makes you think He doesn't love you now?
That's right.
Like, I mean, if He loved you when you were at your worst, when you were a killer and an adulterer and all that stuff, well, I mean, why would He love you less now that you're actually trying?
That's right.
It doesn't, He's done it all. It's all about Him. It ain't about us. It's about Him.
That's right.
He's done it, and now we just live out of that gratitude.
That's right. I mean, a lot of times when I'm talking to guys, I go straight to this couple words. It's not about you. It's all about Him. If you just remember it's not about you and you quit worrying about, your circumstances and what can you do to serve Him, it all comes into picture. It really does.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break because then I want to, you have a story, that in this book, it was a mission trip that is amazing. And I think that's going to really, inspire a lot of guys. And I know you had some fun things that you'd like to talk about that. So let's take a quick break and then we'll jump into that story. All right, guys, are you looking for something fun to do for a date night? I got it for you. And you're going to thank me forever. It's called the Sexploration List. It's going to open up a fun conversation to come together on the topic of sex. So to get your copy of the Sexploration List, we partnered with Uncovering Intimacy, and they have many more resources that are going to help you and your spouse come together, have a great conversation, and grow your sex life together. And we know at the Lion Within us, to be a lion, to be the leader, you need a strong marriage. And that part of that strong marriage is a strong sex life. So guys, go to thelionwithin.us/sex, use the coupon code LION at checkout, and you'll get 10% off your order store-wide. So that's thelionwithin.us/sex, coupon code LION. All right, guys, we're back here with Adam, and he's bringing the reins today, guys. I mean, this North Carolina roots, they're coming out, so I'm loving it. But Adam, you talked about in the story, you really get to a place where you had an amazing opportunity to serve the Lord in 48 days. Can you give us some insight? Paint what was going on there.
Man, and it's weird because I've never had one other than this.
Okay.
But I had a vision, and I'm not trying to come off as creepy or whatever, and like I don't want people to think that I'm any weirder than I actually am. But no, I was just sitting there and like I just had this vision of like everybody at this like party I was at just kind of like got blown away.
Okay.
But I was like in this protective bubble thing, and I didn't know what to make out of it, and like, and I wasn't messed up or anything like that. I wasn't on anything. But I was at a place where everybody at this party, I think that I was the only one that like had a love for Jesus, because I always tell people like, if nobody knows that you're a Christian, then you're not. Like,
That's right.
and I hate. I don't like to hurt people's feelings and stuff, but the fact of the matter is, there's no such thing as a closet Christian. Uh, and so, I was the only one that was like definitely on fire for the Lord there, and I didn't know what to make of it, and I was going home, and I just I was praying about it. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this because I've never had anything like that happen before, and all of a sudden, just like the intense burden of the lost just came on me, and I just started thinking, there's so many people that they don't know the Lord, and if they die in their sins, like, see, and I've had people, they always want to argue with me. They want to be like, oh well, what about somebody? What if somebody's never heard about Jesus? What happens to them when they die? You know, oh well, if you grew up in Iran, you would be a Muslim right now instead of a Christian. So this blah 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 and all that. I said, yeah, that's cool. I don't really know. I don't really know how to answer that. To be honest, I'm not the judge. I don't know how God's going to play that. I've studied the Bible a good bit, and things don't look great. I said, but there's one thing that I'm sure of is that Jesus says that we'll be judged on that which we're accountable for. I said, so if you're living in the United States of America and you've been hearing about Jesus your whole life, you need to be worried about you
Mm.
because you've been hearing it your whole life and you ain't done nothing about it other than deny him. So I don't know what's going to go. I don't know. I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen to that tribal person who's never heard the gospel. But I can tell you this much: if you keep denying Jesus Christ, you in bad shape, buddy.
Hmm.
You know, and see that's America collectively. We're all in that situation
Right.
because we've heard constantly. You know, heard to the point to where like we don't even think about it anymore, and that's a very dangerous place to be. And that's kind of where my heart was, and I was in tears. Like I was crying so hard that I had to pull over and stop driving. It was like I couldn't see. And that was when I just really started seeking God. And I was like, God, I feel like you want me to do something. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it was, but I love America. I mean, I bled for America. I love America.
Right.
It's the greatest country ever, man. Everybody I love lives here.
Right.
So,
Right.
and I was like, there's got to be some way that I can share the gospel just all over the place with everybody, everywhere. And so, like at first, I had kind of envisioned this, like, kind of what they did in Canada recently, where they had like just that giant convoy.
Right. Yeah. That's right. The
That's
truckers.
I kind of envisioned that, except like a gospel movement,
Hmm.
but I couldn't get anybody else to do it. So, so I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, am I just crazy? Which I mean, I know I'm a little crazy, but I was like, is this like crazy, crazy? Like, did I just imagine that God wants me to do this? Because I kept going and like the Bible, the Great Commission,
Mm.
and go and make disciples. I mean, it's just like there. Everywhere I look, it's there. Go forth, go forth, go forth. And I'm like, all right, cool, man. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. And uh yeah, I tried to like raise money for it and I planned it all out real well, logistically and stuff. Nothing was happening.
Mm.
And I was like, man, I don't know. I don't know if this is gonna work. I don't know what's going on. And then out of nowhere, one of my old battle buddies hit me up, and he had been going through things and stuff, and he was like, hey, I gave my life to Christ. I heard you're going on a mission trip. I'm coming. I'm like, what? And so then, in the matter of like, I want to say 2 months,
Right.
things just popped. And all of a sudden, I just started having all these speaking appearances at these churches, and all of this stuff just happened. And like people found out about it, and they started donating Bibles and donating. Like my aunt just gave us like 10,000 or like 20,000 gospel tracks, and
Wow.
all these. and like these churches would invite me to come speak, and then they would have a love offering for us, and so yeah, it in the matter of just a couple months, right there at the end, after I'd been working my tail off and accomplishing nothing for like a year, in the last 2 months, God just did everything, like literally
When
everything.
he wants to move, he moves, man.
Everything I did was nothing.
Right.
And then he just did everything. And so I mean, but see, that's the thing is I think God likes to use idiots like me from time to time because like there's no way I could do this. Like there's no way I could take credit for this. Like it was all him, man.
Right.
I'm just gonna give him all the credit because it was all him. Everything I did was fruitless. But yeah, it ended up happening, and we lived in a U-Haul cargo van, and we went to a different city in a different state every day, and we would just find either where the most people were or where the most homeless people were,
Right.
and we would just get out there and we'd love on them and we'd be sweet to them, and we'd hand out gospel tracts and cold bottles of water and granola bars, and um, if people wanted Bibles, we'd hook them up with a Bible, and we'd pray with people and just love on people, man. We were like special forces for Jesus, man.
Yeah.
We just roll up in your hood and dismount, and there we were.
There you
But
were.
it was so crazy, man. It was so like God just kept us safe the whole time. Nobody messed with us. We didn't have no flat tires, man. We even had drug dealers that was pulling security for us.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
That is crazy. Now you faced some persecution though through it, right? You had I think I read in your book a couple times where it got real there for a few moments.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and like before the show, we were talking about lady in Arkansas that was calling us false prophets and
Right.
screaming at us and all of that. We had a dude that was I don't know, I think he might have been on some PCP, but if there's anybody that I've come across that was most likely possessed by a demon, it was this guy. He was running around in a blue Cookie Monster onesie pajamas, um, and like he was cussing Jesus's name at us, which
Wow.
was very interesting.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
wasn't cussing us.
Right.
He was cursing Jesus's name in our direction, which
Mm.
I thought was very strange. And if I was going to go back and do it again, man, I don't know. I might try to cast it out or something. I don't know. I'm looking more into that, but I'm not good enough to talk about that yet.
I
But
hear.
Jesus was doing it, so something's there. But the fact, like he was like calling Jesus the B word, and like it was very strange, very
Right.
strange. It was, and then like there was times where like we were talking to Muslims where I thought we might, I thought they might swing on us a couple times,
Right.
but it never did.
Never did.
Yeah, there was one time I got into it pretty good, which it was more of a debate, more of an argument with I don't know if you've heard of the Black Hebrew Israelites.
Mm. Mm.
Uh, they were in Chicago, and we got into it with them. But by the end of the discussion, it turns out that I am a Black Hebrew Israelite.
Okay. Okay.
I did not know that, but apparently I have been accepted because I have Native American in my bloodline
Oh.
somewhere.
Okay.
So that was the only way they could end the argument because I was not going to go away.
Well, it sounds like that was just an amazing trip. I mean, 48 states, 48 days, gospel tracks. I mean, that's like got to be a highlight for your life in general, right?
I mean, yeah. But I want that stuff all the time.
Right. Exactly.
Like I don't like that's the thing is I don't want to hang my hat on anything, man. I want to keep my hat on. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? Like that's I mean, in all honesty, like I feel like the Christian life is supposed to be like that.
Right.
Like I really feel like we're supposed to be just empowered in the Holy Spirit. I feel like we're supposed to be doing stuff like that all the time.
Yeah. That's
You know,
right.
I feel like we're supposed to be seeing cool stuff, and people come to Jesus, and people get healed, and like, you know, I feel like the Christian life is supposed to be an adventure
Mm,
where it's us and Jesus out there changing the world, man, changing lives and doing awesome stuff.
right.
Like, I really don't think that the Christian life is supposed to be going to church on Sunday for an hour or two, not drinking and not going to strip clubs and paying a mortgage. Like, I just feel like the Christian life is supposed to be so much more than that.
Yes.
I feel like we're supposed to be making disciples. I feel like we're supposed to be changing the world.
Right.
And so like that's what I want to do.
Right.
That's what I want my life to be about all the time.
Well, I mean, and that's what as men we're called to do. I mean, we need to step up and take the lead as Christian men and be those leaders and step out and do these things. And you're right; it's not just church or Wednesday night service or not doing not looking at porn or things like that that you shouldn't be doing anyway, right? I mean, it's leading our families and being that example. And maybe any advice if you got guys that are listening right now, Adam, that you want to just give them, you maybe hit them between the eyes with. Maybe they're struggling with something. They're trying to figure out how to move forward to be that leader. What are you telling those guys?
Hey, well, you asked for it, Chris. All right. Well, to be honest, man, doing youth ministry with these young kids in the hood, the biggest problem I see in our society right now is fatherlessness.
Mm-hmm.
So first and foremost, if you've got kids and you're not in their life, you need to do your job and you need to get in their life. I don't care how crazy your baby's mama is, or your ex-wife, or your ex-girlfriend, or whatever excuses you got. You need to get in your kid's life right now because you're messing up the whole world. So first and foremost, if you have fathered children and you're not in their lives, get in their lives.
Right.
Um, uh, you know, I think that if you're a Christian man, there are mentoring opportunities everywhere to fill the gap in this fatherless epidemic, man. Because that's all of the troubled teens that I'm working with, man. That's one thing that they all have in common. Either they've lost a daddy to violence or drugs or whatever, or prison, or the dad is not in their life, or the male that they have in their life is a horrible male role model.
Right.
And so, like, if you have something to offer, you need to get out there and do it. And you need to find ways to take these young men under your wing, and like I'm in professional ministry, right? But for most of the time that I've been, that I've only been in youth ministry like as a profession, as a full-time job for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, I was mentoring young men because it was the right thing to do, and it's because of what God's called me to do.
Right.
And I think that, and if I got fired tomorrow, which I'm a little crazy and sometimes I say stuff I shouldn't say, so it's a possibility. But if I get fired tomorrow, I'll still be mentoring and giving Jesus to the young people that are around me. And so that's what we need to be doing.
Right.
Is if we've got a generation of young men right now that they are the most lost and confused generation that has ever walked the earth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're being hit with everything from Allah to crystals
Right.
and everything in between. And they're
Mm-hmm.
being told that, if you want to, that basically you either need to be a rapper or a YouTube star or a drug dealer or whatever. Like, they have no idea what it means to be a man. They have no idea what it means to bear a cross, to put responsibility on your back,
Right.
to carry a load. They have no idea, and they need to be taught. And so that's the thing is, I mean, I think that I've heard it said every Paul needs a Timothy, and every Timothy needs a Paul. And so, like, that's the thing is, if you got something to offer, hey, find a way. Do you know how to shoot a bow? Do you know how to go? Do you know how to tie a hook on a fishing line? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, do you know how to fix a car? Do you know how to fix a lawnmower? You know, because I guarantee you, if you walk up to most of these teenage boys right now,
They
they
don't
don't know
have.
how to do any of those things,
That's right.
and they would love it. Now, we took about 13 youth, young men out this past fall. Had a men's ministry day with them. It was dope. It was something God put on my heart, and we were able to execute it, and I loved it. And two out of 13 had ever been fishing before in their entire life.
Wow.
2 out of 13. So that's the thing is let's find ways to mentor these young men and to
Right.
lead them to Christ. That's I think that's what we need to be doing.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, my boss man just walked in.
Oh.
And Slick Rick, come here, Slick Rick. You about to be famous. Hey, come on down. Hey, this is my buddy Richard.
Hey,
This is
Richard.
Slick Rick.
Hey, Richard.
Yeah. He's a good dude. Keep an eye out for him.
I will. I will. I will. Well, Adam, man, this has been great, man. I got last one here. What's one thing you want the Lions out there, the guys listening, to remember from your book and from this conversation today? If you had one message to give them.
One message. Wow. Hey, you hit me with a tough one there, man. Uh, you know what? It matters.
Mm.
Everything matters. Look at your own life, and I think that one cool thing about writing a book is you look at your own life, you look at your own story, and see the way that you were impacted by other people.
Right.
Uh, See the way that you were impacted for the gospel yourself. See the way that people came into your life, that God used other people in your life, either for the negative or for the positive. God could do everything Himself. All right, He's omnipotent.
Right.
He's all powerful. He could do whatever He wants to do whenever He wants to do it. He doesn't need an idiot like Adam to do anything. In fact, I probably mess up more stuff than if I just did what He told me to. But you know, for some reason, God chooses to use us,
Right.
and He chooses to be like for us to be co-laborers with Him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so and a lot of times the things that I think didn't really matter, like sometimes that's the things that had the biggest impact on somebody.
Yeah.
But we need to realize, especially as Christian men, that God is going to be judged based on us. It's not fair. It's not fair at all, because we know we're sinners. We know we're imperfect, right?
Right.
But God is going to be judged based on us. I saw this little sign on a church where I'm from. It said, "You're the only Bible some people are ever going to read." And the thing is in that 48-day journey, and I'm talking to people about God every day on that stuff, and I'm talking to them every day about God, now, because
Right.
that's what I do. Uh, Most of the people who have left the faith, it doesn't really have anything to do with Jesus.
Mm.
It has to do with some way that they were hurt in the church. Some Christian that they looked up to messed up, and they got hurt. A
Right.
pastor was embezzling money. They're sleeping with the secretary, or a Christian man in their life, you know, maybe cheated on their mama and led to the divorce or stuff like that. We got to realize that everything matters, and we need to try to live to honor Christ, in everything that we do. Um, because that's kind of what it's about, being all in.
Yeah.
Is like, hey, I'm figure it out, man. Like, do you really believe in Jesus? Did He really die for you?
Right.
Or not? like make your decision. Like make a decision and roll with it. And that, but if you're gonna claim to be a Christian, don't be making Jesus look bad, man.
Right.
I guess that would be it in a
Well, I
nutshell.
love it. I mean, that was a great answer, man. I tell you what, last question for you. Give me something. I like to end on a little something light. What's a fun fact about Adam that people would never guess, man?
I'm not gonna do it. Okay, I'm not gonna do it on here because this is gonna be preserved forever in some AI machine's mind. Uh, but I can burp the entire ABCs in one burp.
That's awesome. That's the
I
best.
do. I can. I found a way to where I can inhale air directly into my stomach,
Right.
and so I can burp like the longest burps anybody I've ever seen in my entire life.
All right. Well, that's definitely the funniest answer we've had to that question, man.
Congratulations. There you go.
Well, Adam, this has been great, man. I tell you what, I love the book. Where do you want people to go to connect with you, to learn more? You know, we're going to sync it all up in our show notes, but just if you want to give a shout out, where do you hope people go to check this out?
I guess it's on Amazon. I don't
Okay.
know. I could probably send you the link for
Oh,
that.
well,
It's on
yeah.
barnesandnoble.com.
Yep.
If people want it, if you can't afford it, man, you can message me on LinkedIn, man. I'll send you a copy, man. I ain't worried about the money. I just want to change people's lives. And, but I think that especially for veterans, other combat veterans that are struggling to find their identity after the service,
Right.
especially dealing with suicide and things like that, guilt and shame from their service. This is, I think it could be a really good resource to help them to establish their identity in Christ. Prisoners, knuckleheads. I wanted to write this book as something that just a everyday dude or lady, which I do mostly ministry with men, and my wife likes it that way. So I'll usually just say regular dudes.
Right.
Something that not an avid reader could read and enjoy. That's what I was shooting for, to where it was just like me talking to you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, I guess like I said, I'm not on social media other than LinkedIn, and I'm not gonna give my address
No,
out.
it's all good.
But
We'll make sure
yeah,
like your
any
LinkedIn
way people can hook up with me or whatever, man, I'm down.
for sure. In our show notes, guys, go there because we'll have Adam's LinkedIn profile, and then we'll have the links directly for the book, so you can go and get that, add it to your library. Adam, this has been a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for sharing and for coming on the Line Within Us. I've had just an absolute blast hearing your story and what you're doing. You are all in, brother.
Hey, you stay in the fight, man. Hey, and what you're doing makes a difference. And lots of guys need encouragement, man. It's tough out there.
Absolutely,
It's
brother.
tough out there. We're battling the flesh. We're battling, spiritual battles and stuff, and we're selfish by nature. I appreciate what you're doing, man. You stay in the fight, bro.
You too, brother. God bless you. At The Line Within Us, we discuss wealth a lot. And our sponsor at Investing for Beginners provides great resources for those wanting to take their knowledge of investing to the next level. Their monthly research e-letter is the best way to learn about the market and apply insight to begin growing your wealth. The newsletter tracks the founder's journey of managing a portfolio and shares how the decisions are made. For the beginning investor, this could be a great way to learn how to get started with investing from a company that is putting their money where their mouth is. I've been subscribing to their e-letter for quite some time, and it's something I look forward to every month, and I've learned a ton. They are a conservative group with an emphasis on a margin of safety. The Lion Within Us listeners can receive 15% off the monthly e-letter by visiting thelionwithin.us/IFB, that's Investing for Beginners, and using the promo code LION at checkout. That's thelionwithin.us/IFB, and use promo code LION to receive 15% off your monthly research e-letter. All right, guys, that was a powerful conversation with Adam. I tell you what a guy, right? I mean, served his country, had so many things that he had happen to him down the wrong path, ultimately serving the Lord. And look what he's doing now. I mean, he's changing the lives of men every day. I'll tell you what, I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Again, synced up to go to the show notes. Everything's there. You can get a copy of his book. Definitely encourage it for you guys in your library as you're building it out. The question that I want you to think about is, where have you gone all in your life? You need to really consider that. Where have you gone all in your life? So there you go, guys. If you enjoyed this conversation, I encourage you, share it with other people. Get it out there. Don't just sit on it. Go get the Bible study at lionwithin.us. Join the Lion's Den. This is how we grow the community, okay? Give us a rating and review. Again, this was a powerful conversation. I want you to be all in. We want to be all in with you. We are here to support you. We are here to serve you. We are here to fight alongside of you, because Satan, he's coming after you. And we want to be here. We want to be that encouragement. So guys, let's be all in. Have a great week. Go out, unleash the lion within.